It is almost Thanksgiving time, so let's just be, a little casual, a little fun here on the Browns Report. What is your favorite kind of pie? I'm an apple pie kind of guy. Producer Sam's an apple pie. Maybe you're pumpkin pie. Maybe you are braver than me and you like pecan or pecan pie. We're going to have that debate right now. But personally, I've never had the stones to try pecan pie because it looks too scary to me in my 8-year-old palate. But if you do and swear by pecan pie, let me know in the comment section. Tell me to try it this Thanksgiving or just shout out whatever favorite pie you have and what you're going to be chowing down on Thursday afternoon. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Now we got the fun, fluffy stuff out of the way, like the pie conversation. We got some Week 11 overreactions because if you didn't even see the score of the game and just went off of Browns Twitter, you would have thought the Browns actually lost to the Lions. Oddly enough, they won. Didn't see that coming, but we have some overreactions to go to. So let's dive into the first one. Should the Browns bench Baker Mayfield? Never wanted to have this as a segment on my show if I go back to the beginning of the year, but I do have to have it because I think the conversation is worth having. I'm not talking benching him from a playing standpoint, but a combination of the injuries coupled with poor play because of the injuries. Here's what Baker had to say, by the way, after skipping out on the media on Sunday. Really chotch move, in my opinion, but he said this on Monday. Those are probably the same fans who won't be quiet when we are on offense and trying to operate, so really don't care. Baker's talking about the criticism and the boos he's getting from the fans at First Energy Stadium. Dude, read the room. You're already on thin-ish ice. Your future in Cleveland is a lot more foggier than it was back in September. And the only thing you've got on your side right now is half the fan base that is continuing to root you on. You want to turn off and just completely make the other fan base obsolete and, even more importantly, stronger in their opinion for you? No. Read the room, man. You can't go and bashing the fan base when you're already playing like shit. How can you do that? I don't understand how Baker can get in front of the media after skipping the media on Sunday, which I thought was a classless move, and Kevin Stefanski, I think, agreed too. I'll show you what he had to say about that in a little bit, but let's let you guys in on this topic. Should the Browns bench Baker Mayfield? Type B for bench or type P for play down in the comments section. I'll give you my take in just a moment, but let me know what you think. After Week 11, I can understand why you would want to bench him. 15 for 29, $176, 1 touchdown, nice touchdown pass to Chubb, and 2 bad interceptions. Just ugly. And Kevin Stefanski wasn't happy about Baker skipping out of the media after the game on Sunday. Here's what he had to say. I think all of our guys know what their responsibilities are, and we expect them to follow through with their responsibilities. AKA, you're supposed to talk to the media after the game, and you didn't talk to them. That's your responsibility. And that's why I think the toughness card can only excuse so much of the crappy play. Because Baker, I'm not doubting how tough he is. I have been blown away, and I respect his toughness level, his desire to compete on the field, putting himself behind the team. Kudos to you, man. A lot of quarterbacks would have hung it up after all these injuries. Props to you. But at the end of the day, I know two things. Cleveland has a $6 million backup quarterback in Case Keenum. I'm sure GM Andrew Berry didn't sign him to that big price tag if he didn't want him to play him when the time came. And I know the second thing. What we've seen from Keenum so far isn't that bad. Keenum held his own. He did what he had to do in the game against the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. You gave him all this money to be one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, where he was a starting quarterback not that long ago. I'm not here starting the Case Keenum fan club and drawing hearts around his name, but I do think he's worth looking at as a serious option for a couple of weeks if Baker can't be at his top spot. And so that's why, for me, Week 12, it's got to be the final straw. It has to be the line you draw in the sand. If Baker is bad in Week 12 on Sunday Night Football against the division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens, who somehow, still frustratingly enough, find ways to pull out wins out of their ass, then you have to go into the bye week with the idea of Case Keenum is going to get 2 weeks worth of practice and start against the Ravens at home the next week and let Baker heal for 2 weeks. Baker says his injuries aren't getting worse. I can't really trust what Baker has to say about his injuries. Didn't even know he was injured. Well, knew he was injured, but they held back a lot of it. So I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. I think Week 12, this upcoming game against the Ravens, will decide who the Browns starting quarterback should be, at least for the next 2 weeks. With the bye week in there, so just one game. My next Week 11 overreaction. The defense will save the season. I'm not punting on this season. I'm not giving up on playoff hopes because the Browns, believe it or not, despite the tone of my voice, they're 6-5. They're very much in this playoff hunt. They're only one win behind the Baltimore Ravens, and they get to play them twice. They control their destiny 120%. Every single NFL season, we see this. Teams peak too early. Teams get hot at the right time. Don't be the Browns fan that's like, it's already done. Turning the TV off, not buying into the rest of the year. It's not happening. I think it is worth looking at for the rest of the season. Before we get more into this defense, though, make sure you are subbed to the channel. Don't sub for me. Sub because you love Thanksgiving. If you don't like Thanksgiving, then find another reason to sub. But we want the Browns fans to be up to date with the latest Browns news and rumors all year long. We're going to be here around the clock, so subscribe. Hit that big red sub button if you have not already. And if you have, we appreciate you guys. Best fan base out there in the NFL. So, circling back to this Browns defense, I cherry-picked some stats a little bit. That way it could fit my narrative, and that's what we do here in the media. Weeks 1 through 6 versus weeks 7 through 11. Now, I took away the Bears game, and I took away the New England game because both of those are outliers. But you can see that the Browns defense has improved dramatically from the start of the year to the end of the year. For me, the biggest takeaway right there, aside from the takeaways, points per game going from 29 to 13.7. Marginally decrease in rushing yards per game allowed, but the pass and the yards altogether much better for this Browns defense over the last month and change. And that's why I think this Browns defense can save the season, but they can only stall for so long. You don't want to play that game of leaning on your defense too much. It's just going to come back and bite you in the ass. And so I think this Browns defense, like in Week 11 against the Lions, can keep Cleveland in the win column and keep them in games. But that's a dangerous game to play. You don't want to fly too close to the sun and go back to that well week after week after week, because eventually they're not going to be there for you. Holiday season is coming up. Here's the deal. I suck at Christmas shopping. I always wait too long. I have to pay more for shipping so they come on time. Get ahead of the game right now. Thank me and thank yourself later when you get your loved one or give yourself this awesome Browns winter hat. It's getting cold at First Energy Stadium. I saw a lot of hard hats during the rain on the CBS broadcast. Be in style with this cool Browns hat right here. And all you got to do to get 50% off is go to chatsports.com/Browns hat. It's $11. It's a great deal. And like I said, don't put this off. Christmas, holiday season, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate is coming up. Get ahead of the game. Get this hat right now. That way you can check off at least one person on your Christmas list. I got the link in the comments and the description of this video. Again, $11 for this awesome Browns hat. Third and final Week 11 overreaction. Chubb ending ahead of Jim Brown in his Browns career? Yeah, big time overreaction. I wrote this because anytime you can incorporate Jim Brown into a show, do it. And anytime you can incorporate Nick Chubb doing things well, do it. And so that's why I'm looking at, could Chubb do it? I broke down the numbers. I did the hard science and I did the hard math, so you guys don't have to. But speaking of Jim Brown, who's your favorite Browns player of all time? Shout it out in the comment description. You got Josh Cribbs. You can be that unique guy. You can't go wrong with Jim Brown. A lot of great Brownies to pick from. Let me know who your favorite player in Cleveland history all time. Any Bernie fans? I'm just thinking of more Bernie Kosar. We don't need to get into politics. Down in the comment section of this video. So Nick Chubb, through his career, 52 games, has been awesome. We know this. North of 4,000 yards, already up to 34 touchdowns. But where does that compare to the all-time Browns rushing leaders in one of the most storied franchises in NFL history? He's at 7 currently. He's got a long way to go until he gets to those Jim Brown numbers. Pretty amazing that Jim Brown has a 5,000-ish yard lead on second place. I just thought of this. I wonder if there's another NFL franchise that has that big of a gap between 1 and 2. Maybe Bernie Sanders in Detroit. Barry Sanders. I got Bernie Kosar mind. Yeah. That was bad. Maybe Barry Sanders in Detroit. There's a handful of other ones. Adrian Peterson with the Vikings. But look how far Chubb has to go. I crunched the numbers for you guys. Here's what Chubb has to do if he wants to finish as the number 1 running back in Browns history. I don't want to screw this up. He's got 56 games left in his current contract. You got that extension, so if you just look, let's just say he plays the next 56 games of his contract and doesn't get a new contract after that, he'd have to average 147 yards per game to pass Jim Brown. I don't think that's going to happen under this contract. NFL running backs aren't getting the longer contracts that the Barry Sanders and the Jim Browns of the world once did. I would love to see Nick Chubb in a Browns uniform for the next 5 to 7 years. I just don't know if it's that realistic. You see running backs kind of fall off a cliff. I mean, hell, look at like LaShawn McCoy. He is completely... Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is not even 30 years old, and he's already out of the league, essentially. Who else are we thinking of? Todd Gurley, the knees, gone. So it'd be tough to see, but those are the numbers right there. Browns fans, if you have not already, follow me on Twitter. I'm talking Brownies all the time, and we will see you guys later here on the Cleveland Browns Report.